Yo, these are memories from the future that I'm shooting. Outgunned and overmatched, I'll just scratch and make a new one. Lap the world a couple times over, I can overdo it. First to admit it, I'll be tripping when I've been influenced. Since we're talking, man, there's been improvements.
Yo, 1, 2, Evidence, live and direct, Venice, California. MC, producer, shoot some photos, creative stuff. I'm into creative stuff. Peace. I would describe my music to somebody who's never heard it as dark. A lot of it is weather related, so I'm always painting imagery of a cloudy sky or something dark. I'm from Venice Beach, California. People think of California and they think of palm trees and sunshine, but like by the beach where I live, the marine layer doesn't even break off until 3 or 4 in the afternoon sometimes, or even if at all. So it's like my city is kind of how I see my music, like the unsung, or like the different side of LA that not everybody stereotypically thinks of it as. And so yeah, something like that. And then on the making the music, as far as production, I would say the same thing follows. I'm into like awkward, melodies, and I would say there's a string of like something soul related that runs through it, but my take on it, not traditional. Primary themes in my art don't always guarantee that they're going to be the same, so it could be a wide array of things. What I'm trying to get through lately is this person that's having the conversation here is the same person you're listening to on the record. So that's been my goal, as far as like, I don't know if that's a theme or just a goal for me, but the themes would be, people call me the weatherman. I'm like, that would be the character I built for myself with an umbrella in a sunny place. You know what I mean? But I've been doing albums called Unlearning lately, which are a departure from that weather stuff that I was doing before. And so with that, a lot of the themes have been throwing away everything I thought I knew. In the last years, I really got into production heavy, and I started a label, Bigger Picture Recordings, and produced other artists, and absorbing all of that greatness and the people that have been here recording right there. It's like, even when I'm not rapping, I'm taking it all in. So unlearning what I thought was the blueprint, and a lot of approaching it from like a reset button perspective. Yeah, to stay inspired is, for me, a lot of times is to try to be the worst one in the room. You know what I mean? It's like, that's the goal, is always feel like I'm around giants, and that'll keep you always pushing. I think some people might have, as we get a little older, especially, to have a tendency to put ourselves in rooms with people we feel greater than, to make some kind of like achievement feeling. You know what I mean? But I think the less of that, especially as you get later into the career, is healthy. And so, yeah, inspiration would be hanging out with you or Q, or going to Al's and whoever's there, and or it would be recording Blue, or stuff, just staying around people who inspire me musically. Outside of that, my son, you know what I'm saying? Or there's other achievements other than getting to the next 1,000 followers on Instagram. But it's like we were saying, like, no tardy days at school, right? Fire. You know what I mean? Other stuff, personal goals, but that might bleed back into your confidence as a musician. Art isn't like narrow, it's wide. And so there's a guy who is a great photographer who can also play the guitar. And there's a guitar player who also knows how to draw portraits. So what I think is important is informing your audience on what you are. And that's what you do through repetition. And so because if you spread too thin, everything, you might miss the mark. So for me, it's been like always, okay, I am a rapper, I'm a producer first, but then there's other ways of showing that I don't have to be limited to just this. But I don't want to deviate too far away from this either, because this is how you find out what their main focus is. And I think people like to see artists be creative and do other stuff, as long as it's not getting in the way too much of what they like about the artist. And so like I remember when Mac Miller was producing Conway and Your Old Droog, right? The rest in peace to him, you know, and there had to be a point where some fan who really likes Mac Miller is like, what are you doing? Why are you producing these? What is a producer? I don't even know what a beat is. Like, but why are you devoting your time to this? And then there's other people in the feed who are like, yo, they're winning. He's winning them over with respect. And so it's like, but what's your main gig? And you kind of got to remember what your main gig is. So for me, I've been like, especially putting out a new album right now. It reminded me that like, yeah, putting on my own mask, like they say on the plane, to help others is helpful because I'm blessed that there's people who still give a fuck about me as an MC. But in the last few years, I really didn't push that narrative. I pushed me as a producer and starting a label. And so it's all kind of working itself out in a weird little way that I'm not even quite sure of yet. But I know that somehow one's feeding the other. But I definitely don't want to be forgot. And as much as I do produce and love that I'm still me as an MC from when I built up my whole career. My culture and upbringing affected me as an artist in the sense of, I guess you're a product of your environment. I guess the term, had my parents not got divorced and my mom and I not moved to Venice at a young age, I don't know if I would be who I am doing this right now. You know what I mean? So it's like, I lived in an environment where music was popping, graffiti was popping, gang culture was popping, and then all the things that, everything in between that ties all that together, it was popping. So naturally, I wanted to skate, I wanted to do graffiti, I wanted to eventually rap and do all the things that were not foreign to me in my environment right here. Also, my parents playing their kinds of music that they like growing up still to this day informs me of like the sound that I like, because there must have been a moment where I heard something and that something was in a certain key, and now anytime I hear a song that's in that key, I gravitate towards that place. Or something like where I make my I pick that key for some reason instead of picking that key because it might be in the moment or something that I don't know, but subliminal stuff like that. Yeah, so my parents are both from Brooklyn, you know what I mean? And so it's ironic you live on Venice Beach, which is like Coney Island where they were at. It's like the ghetto, the beach on both sides, you know what I mean? And so that, and then going to Brooklyn in the summers, elementary school, and thinking that part of Brooklyn was what New York was. I didn't go to Manhattan, you know what I mean? And find the Empire State Building till later, you know what I mean? So that definitely made me different. I got to hear New York radio, you know what I mean? I had cousins who listened to EPMD, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's like shit that I just wouldn't have got that information at such a young age, coming back to LA where everybody was listening to a different kind of music. A message I would want to share with the world is probably a long conversation of a question, of an answer to a question. In short, I would say, yeah, do it till you don't love it. And if you still love it, then don't give up. You know, I think that there's a snare and there's a kick and a hi-hat and a bass, guitar and whatever else. All the instruments are there when everyone can pick it up and play it, but like all the intangible shit about the energy that goes into music is not to be taught, or it just is or isn't. You know what I mean? And so when you're putting your love into your passion, your profession, somebody's going to hear that. And it doesn't have to be music. It could be anything else. You know what I mean? And so, and it's usually when people are successful, or when there was like the mother of necessity invention, or I just made this song in 15 minutes, or, you know, it's always one of those, like, because it was just fully free in the moment of before it was like monetized or thought of providing a career, you know? And then the last thing is, yeah, if music is going to be your profession, then get good at making money doing your profession. I think there's a guilt thing that comes along with some artists where they want to keep it real or prove to their watcher over or somebody that they're not being greedy or capitalistic, is that the word, you know, or something, but something like that. And I think if you woke up enough days and just made a beat or just wrote a rhyme for no reason on a napkin, you've already proven to whoever's watching that you do it for the love of it. And so what's the point of working in the mailroom your whole career in any business? And so for rap, I would like to see people be proud of making money for their accomplishment. Not in a flossy way. It can be, but it doesn't have, but like, not the guilt trip of like, if I don't keeping it real, somehow means that I can't really like move up in the status of my job. Coming up next for me, well, I put out a new album, Unlearning Volume 2. I'm gonna drop more videos from that. I just did a European tour. I'm about to do an LA date, and then start looking to do shows like regionally. I'm taking my kid to school full time right now, so the option of just like going out in May is not, I can't just say, yeah, I'm gonna tour in May. I can't, but I can find weekends here or spring break that leads into something, or a winter holiday, or there'll be ways to still tour, and I'll figure those out. I like a New York show, a Minneapolis show, things like that, instead of just a whole strung out tour right now. And then, I have a label, Bigger Picture Recordings. This is the last album I'm doing as far as my contract with Rhymesayers. And so I always want to keep that open with them forever, because they've been nothing but good. And to say that in an industry like this is a wild thing. That's a real testament to them, you know what I mean? And so, but maybe more on a one-off basis when we see something fit to like have a boost. You know what I mean? In the meantime, I want to get into sharing rap music a little more in real time, not like going away and make something and then come back. 1 2 1 2, this is Evidence. You're rocking with Offstage, Okayplayer. Let's go.